Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my YouTube channel and thank you so much for watching Aisling Stories. I am Akansha and in today's video we are going to talk about the top 12 books that you should read in the year 2022. All of these books are based on self-improvement, personal growth and productivity. So if these are the genre that you are interested in, then keep on watching. The first book on the recommendation list has to be Atomic Habits by James Clear. I read it last year and it has completely changed the way I look at habits. The basic idea behind this book is that you are what your habits are, and it talks about how compounding works. So it says that you should focus on getting 1% better. You should focus on getting 1% better each day, and how it can make a huge difference over a year or over a certain period of time. So it also talks about how you can make a system of your own for your habits. For example, it talks about habit tracking, it talks about accountability partner, it also talks about how you should choose your habits. So it's a brilliant book if you're looking for habit building in the year 2022. Highly recommend this book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. The next book recommendation is The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. Now this is a pretty thick book, so पहले तो आपको लगेगा कि आप शायद finish नहीं कर पाओगे, but when you start reading it, you would know the language is pretty easy and beginner friendly. So what this book is about, like इसमें ना सारे जो भी success principles होते हैं, जो basic फंडामेंटल्स होते हैं, उन सबको उन्होंने कलेक्टिवाइज करके इस बुक में लिखा है. So this particular book is divided into sections. For example, the first section is about the fundamentals of the successful people. Then it talks about the relationships, like how you can improve your relationships. Then it talks about money. It talks about team building. So basically, 4-5 sections में ये book divided है, and then each section is further divided into chapters, and all of those chapters are based on one particular principle, and then it goes on to explain what that principle is, and it is backed by a lot of real life examples, like how people have incorporated those principles in their life and how it has changed their life. So it's a pretty thick book and it's a really well written book. So agar aapne, like, if you're someone who is into this personal growth or development books for a long time, तो आप लोग को लगेगा कि it is a kind of a summary of everything that you have read earlier. And agar you have just started getting into personal help books, then also it's like a pretty basic foundational book. But if you're someone who has been reading it for a while now, then you would think that this is like kind of a summary of everything that you have read. But it is like it has summarized everything in a really confined and a really nice way. So definitely recommend this book as well. It is pretty thick, so it took me a while to finish it. I started reading it in the month of January last year, and I finished it around August, September, I think. I wasn't reading it very consistently. मैं daily नहीं पढ़ रही थी. I was just reading a chapter and then just letting that sink in my mind and then moving on to the next chapter. So that's how you can read it as well. It's upon you. It's a pretty thick book, so even if there's just one book that you want to pick up from the entire book recommendations, it has to be The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. Highly recommend it. Next book recommendation is Tuesdays with Maury. Now this book is about a person visiting his mentor, his college professor, in the last days of his life. So they talk about some really deep questions like wisdom, fear, life, detachment, relationships, all of these things. And they talk about how what the professor is thinking about these important questions when he is like at the last juncture of his life. This book is really emotional. Like, I started crying in like middle of this book, but it's a really a nice book. It's really emotional. It will touch your heart, and it is definitely a keeper. So highly recommend this book as well. So if you're someone who is just like struggling with self improvement books and you want kind of a like a book which is talking about self improvement but not like the regular books that we read, then I definitely recommend you to try it out. बहुत पतली सी छोटी सी बुक है, ज़्यादा मोटी नहीं है, इट्स वेरी बिगनर फ्रेंडली, बट उसमें जो कंटेंट दिया है ना, इट्स रियली हार्ट टचिंग. सो डेफिनेटली रिकमेंडेड ट्यूजडेज विद मॉरी. नेक्स्ट बुक ऑन द रिकमेंडेशन लिस्ट इज गुड वाइफ्स गुड लाइफ बाय वैक्स किंग. एक तो इसका कवर इतना ज़्यादा सुंदर है ना, पहले तो मैं कवर से ही अट्रैक्ट हो गई थी, बट यू शुड नॉट जज अ बुक बाय इट्स कवर. सो व्हेन आई स्टार्टेड रीडिंग इट, द कंटेंट इज एज प्रिटी एज इट्स कवर. So what this book is talking about, this book talks about law of vibration, and it says that how important law of vibration is to make sure that law of attraction works well. So law of attraction is basically you are like manifesting things in your life, but it says that law of attraction is incomplete if you're not following law of vibration. So what law of vibration is, that it says that you should vibrate at a certain frequency to make sure that you are ready to attract good things in your life. It talks about how you can incorporate law of vibration into your life. So it talks about meditation, it talks about prioritizing your work, it talks about like staying away from gossips, it talks about like self-love and all of those good things, healthy lifestyle, and how important it is to eat well and feel good. All of those things are important to make sure that you are vibrating at a higher level and to make sure that you are attracting good things in your life. So it like talks about law of vibration and law of attraction simultaneously and how they are interconnected. And this book is beautifully written, very beginner friendly, and बीच बीच में ऐसे quotes वगैरह दिए हुए along with graphics, so it makes it a enjoyable read. So definitely a book that I would recommend if you are into this law of vibration and law of attraction kind of a thing, or even if you're just looking for a getting into a better lifestyle, then also I would recommend you to pick it up. Beautifully written, very beginner friendly language. Highly recommend A Good Vibes, Good Life by Wax King. The next book on the recommendation list is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I hope that I am pronouncing the name correct. But this book is about the four agreements that you should form with yourself in order to live a more fulfilling life. Those four agreements are: number one, be impeccable with your words; number two, do not take anything personally; number three, don't make any assumptions; and number four, always do your best. Now, if you look at it, then this is kind of a book which is very foundational. So, if you're someone who is just getting into self improvement books, then I would highly recommend you to pick up the four agreements. It would prove to be very foundational into your self improvement journey. I think the four agreements that I just spoke about, it goes deep into those agreements and tell you why that particular agreement is important to incorporate in your life. Highly recommend it. It's very beginner friendly language. बहुत पतली सी book आती है. It won't take you a while to finish it. I think you can easily finish it in 2 weeks or so. Highly recommended. Next book on the recommendation list is Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. Now it really makes you look at creativity from a really different angle. Now pehle you might think that this book is for content creators or any person who is into this creative domain, but that is not the case. She convinces you that how creativity is important to enhance your life, and how and why you should hone in into your creative side of your life. So definitely recommend this book as well. The language is very beginner friendly and it's really interesting to read. Like the words of her is very convincing and it feels like you're talking to a friend. So if you're someone who's like bored with regular self-improvement books, then I highly recommend you to check out Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, because I've not seen a lot of people talking about creativity to enhance your life. She talks about it, and that too very convincingly. And that's a really brilliant book, very beautifully written. Highly recommend Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. Next book on the recommendation list is The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. Now, it completely changed the way I look at procrastination. It talks about that procrastination is nothing else but resistance that you feel towards the work that you should do. So basically, it talks about that procrastination. Behind procrastination, there is just some resistance that's pulling you from doing the work that you should do. I don't think that I am able to justify as to what the author was saying, but it's a really different book. It will open your mind, it will make you think as to why you are procrastinating. So it actually really helped me personally, because like I was kind of at a juncture where I was not knowing what to do with my YouTube channel. Like I wasn't like able to start YouTubing. I was like looking at videos कि कैसे YouTube channels बनाने हैं, किस टाइप से editing करनी है, किस टाइप से क्या करना है, क्या accessories चाहिए, कैसे setup चाहिए, सब कुछ I was looking at. सब कुछ मैंने अच्छे से रिसर्च कर रखा था. आई वॉज लाइक ऑल्सो गेटिंग द आइडियाज ऑन विच आई हैव टू बिल्ड द कंटेंट, बट आई जस्ट couldn't do it. मतलब there was something that was stopping me from doing it. I was thinking that it's procrastination, like I'm not giving into, like I'm not able to like come out of my comfort zone, and that's why I'm procrastinating. But that's the moment I read this book, and it completely changed the mindset of mine ki how I was looking at procrastination. It talks about how there's this resistance that you feel from doing any like project, any new project, especially if that is a project that is out of your comfort zone, if that is a project that is like creative side of you, that is challenging the creative side of you. Then I don't know, if you're into this juncture, I think you would be able to understand what I am saying you. But if you're someone who just struggles with procrastination and just cannot find himself or herself pushing out of that zone and getting things done, then I highly recommend you to check out The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. Definitely worth the read. Definitely recommended. Next book on the recommendation list is Getting Things Done by David Allen. Now, if you're someone who loves to stay organized and is a person of pending list, to-do list, planner, and stuff like that, then I highly recommend you to check out Getting Things Done by David Allen. So this book talks about how you can like increase your productivity and get more organized into your life. So this book is not something that you just read start to finish. It's a book that you follow along. So basically you read one chapter, do what are the things that are mentioned in that book, then move on to the next chapter, do the things next, move on to the next chapter, and so on. That's how you follow this book. I started reading it and then I started making similar changes into my life. The two best things that I learned from this book is batching the similar tasks together. That is like, for example, I'm a YouTuber, then editing on a single day, shooting on a single day. So just basically batching all the similar tasks together, it makes you enter the flow state, and it increases your productivity in that sense. It also talks about making a 2 minute list for basically every task that takes 2 minutes. Then just make a list out of it and then just do it in one go. So basically it talks about similar ideas, and I have incorporated so many good ideas from that book into my life. So if you're someone who wants to increase productivity and get more organized, then I highly recommend you to check out Getting Things Done by David Allen. Next book on the recommendation list is Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. Now this is a book that I was not very like looking forward to, because like I have seen a lot of people recommending this book. I've seen a lot of people talking about this book, and I was not sure if this is the kind of book that I would want to read, because I'm not a person who is like interested in history and stuff. But I wanted to give it a shot because it was recommended by almost everyone that I used to follow, and that's why I bought it and I started reading it. It's a pretty thick book, so it might take time for you to finish it, but definitely worth the time, because like when I started reading it, I got to know that like I'm such a small part of a lot of things that's happening around me. Like I'm such a small part of a series of things that happened before me and the series of things that are going to happen after me. So definitely it will expand your mind. It will make you think that how things work, like how we have like come to a situation where we are currently. So if you're someone who is just looking for a break from a regular self-improvement books, then I highly recommend you to check out Sapiens. Definitely a thick book, it will take time for you to finish it, but if you're someone who is interested into this history and stuff and civilization and how we got here and stuff of these genres of these areas, then I highly recommend you to check out Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. Definitely worth the read, definitely worth the time. Next book on the list is Ask, and it is given by Esther and Jerry Hicks. This was the one that was recommended by a friend of mine. She's interested into law of attraction and stuff like that. And at that particular time, I was also getting into this law of attraction kind of a thing. And that's when she recommended this book. I started reading it, and it's so beautifully written. The first half of this book talks about as to what law of attraction is and how it is real and how people have manifested good things into their life. And the second half of the book talks about the processes that you should use to make sure that you are practicing law of attraction in the right way. It talks about vision board, it talks about affirmations, meditations, and all of those stuff. So I think it is a book that is like one whole thing. If you're like getting into law of attraction, it talks about the basics, it talks about the theory part of it, and then it also talks about the practical part of it. Definitely recommended if you are getting into this law of attraction thing. Worth your time, and definitely a beautiful read. So highly recommend Ask, and it is given by Esther Jerry Hicks. Next book on the recommendation list is You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. Now I would recommend this book to anyone who is suffering from any kind of illness, especially if you're suffering from any kind of chronic illness. So it talks about how you can recover yourself spiritually. Now I know that this is a kind of a domain not everyone agrees with. It's a kind of a science versus spirituality domain, but let's face the fact, not everything has been figured out by science, and there are so many things beyond science that we are yet to figure out. But that doesn't mean that those things that we haven't yet figured out are lie. So if you're someone who is suffering from any kind of chronic illness and believes in spirituality, then I highly recommend you to check this book out. It talks about real life examples as to how people have recovered themselves from chronic illnesses in a spiritual way. It even in the last 50 around pages, it talks about every single disease that's out there and how it can have a link with any past incident or traumas or anything of that sort. It could be a reason for that illness, because obviously there's a proof that certain traumas and incidents lead up to disease in the later part of your life. So it talks about those diseases, and it talks about how spirituality can help you heal. So if you're someone who's kind of thinks that this book could be useful for you, then I highly recommend you to check out You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. Last book on the recommendation list is What I Know for Sure by Oprah Winfrey. Now, while I was reading this book, I won't say that I found really unique things into that book. Like it happens if you're someone who is very consistent with self improvement books, then you find that things tend to repeat themselves. But for me personally, this book was more about how she has written it. Like I really admire Oprah Winfrey. I'm a regular listener of her podcast as well. And for me, the way she has written this book is beautiful. She has reflected her energy, her sense of humor into that book. And while I was reading that book, I could feel her energy, I could feel her sense of humor, I could feel that motherly vibe that I was getting out of that book. For me, it was just her writing style that impressed me. So if you're someone like who is getting into self improvement, who is just a beginner into self improvement books, then I highly recommend you to check out What I Know for Sure. Definitely you will find unique pieces out of that book. But if you're someone who is into self improvement books, I won't say that you would find very unique things into that book, but you would find that motherly vibe, the energy, the sense of humor out of that book that would make this book an interesting read. So definitely recommend this book as well. Definitely check out What I Know for Sure by Oprah Winfrey. Now, since you have stick to an end, I have a bonus book recommendation for you. That is The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. Now, this book definitely convinced me to become a morning person. And before I started reading this book, I was not into the morning lifestyle. But when I started reading this book, it absolutely convinced me to become a morning person. And since then, I have been struggling with morning lifestyle. Like, I'm not a morning person just yet. Like, I'm not a person who wakes up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. But I'm more of kind of a 6 a.m., 7 a.m. kind of a person. But I have definitely included a lot of good things that is written into this book into my lifestyle. It not only talks about the 5 a.m. lifestyle that you should incorporate into your life, it also talks about the productivity systems, and there are so much unique pieces. It talks about the 20-20-20 rule, it talks about Pomodoro technique, and all of those productivity tips that you might want to incorporate into your life to make sure that you are getting the best out of the 24 hours that you have. Definitely recommend this book, even if you're someone who is not a morning person yet but wants to become a morning person in 2022. Definitely worth the time. Definitely you should pick it up as soon as possible. It convinces you to wake up at 5 a.m. and do things into your life. But even if you're a person who is already a morning person who wakes up at 4 a.m., 5, and then also I would recommend you to try it out, because it talks about how the first initial hours of your life is important and how you should make the best out of those hours. I haven't been a 5 a.m. person just yet, but I'm consistently trying and steadily improving to become a 5 a.m. person. And when I see myself, like when I see that I'm just like getting off that lifestyle, I just pick this book up, read a few chapters, and again convinces me to like push myself further and become a morning person. So definitely recommend this book as well, and you can definitely check out Robin Sharma's The 5 a.m. Club. With this, we come to the end of this video. Let me know in the comments down below if there's any book that you would be picking up out of this video. And if there's any book that you have already read, then what are your views about that book? Also, if there's any book that you want me to read, then put them down in the comments below as well. Let's push each other and reach our 2022 reading goals. I hope you like this video. If you did, then please like, share, subscribe to my channel. I hope to see you guys more often. I post videos every Tuesday and Saturday. And let's meet you guys in the next video. Bye. How you can just get a one? How you can just get one by waxing? Waxing कह रही हूँ मैं. How you can like how why you should is Sapiens by Yuval Noah. Then I bought the pair. I